I know that there are many things going on behind closed doors, and I was in that situation on numerous occasions. So I contacted Muslim Women's Network and told them about a series that I've already been doing. And we have lifted the lid on things that we really need to discuss. So welcome, and I really hope that you will be able to benefit from this journey. Well, I want to introduce my guest. It is Asma, and she is the chair of Soul Sisters. She also has an Instagram, which is called I Survived Domestic Abuse. Okay, and she will share with us not only her story, but what her organization is doing. Okay, so welcome, Asma. Assalamu alaikum, Sister Asma.
Walaikum salam. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you so much. So you've joined us. It's the first series in Behind Closed Doors, and it's a sensitive topic, one that you are familiar with. We're looking at domestic abuse. Okay, would you like to introduce yourself and what you do?
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity, first of all, I want to say. And yeah, so I'm Asma, founder and chairperson of Soul Sisters Empowering People. I'm also a single mom. I'm also a radio presenter for my local radio station, which is Crescent Community Radio in Rochdale, and I'm also a survivor. I'm a single. Did I say I'm a single mom? I can't remember now.
You did, yeah.
I have a little boy, and and what my passion at the moment, and it has been for a long time, and it is more so now after my experience I've had, is to raise my voice for other victims and survivors of domestic abuse. You know, make open up a safe space for them, so that they can share their story, so that because the more quieter we stay, violence will continue. And I think the more we speak, it raises awareness, but also it helps the person that's gone through that experience heal, because that's when my healing process started.
Yeah, mashallah, you do a lot. But you mentioned all of the things that are important to who you are. And what's beautiful is not only are they important to what you are, but they're important to people around you. Because of course, you've got an Instagram that says I survived domestic abuse, right? And I think we should celebrate that, because you've gone through something, and you have chosen to share that. So could we go a little bit back, okay? Because I'm looking and I'm like, really, you do all of these things and you're a survivor? Like, isn't domestic abuse meant to break us? So let's rewind, if you don't mind, and let's get into the nitty gritty, because of course we want to show that women can be empowered, and it's not going to break us, but there is that dark period where we do have to be almost broken to grow, So please.
Absolutely, you are right. Going back when I I'm kind of still am a victim of domestic abuse. I was broken. I was in a very dark, low place. Of course, because the way a perpetrator works is that they try to break you down mentally, physically, financially, sexually, so that you're just so dependent on them. And that's what happened with me. I before marrying this person and going into the family, I was very independent. My parents really gave me a liberal upbringing. Obviously it was all about you're going to school, college, uni, you can be friends with girls and boys, but just make sure you stay within your boundaries, and modesty and things like that follow. And of course and I was quite lucky to have parents like that were allowing me to go out, and I was very independent. Going out with friends, eating out, shopping, buying clothes, bags and things like that. And I was very independent, and then got married. And it was to be honest, it started before we got married, but I didn't notice it. But got married and everything changed. I was controlled about, who I was talking to, what I was eating, what I can do, what I can't do, how I talk, how I dress. Everything was like being controlled. And, you know, if I had an opinion
so
about
at this
something.
point, sorry to interrupt, but at this point, was this normal to you? Because, you know, look, my family are Pakistani, right? Well, I didn't get married to no Pakistani, but I know there are norms, you know, that come from being married as a young Muslim female, you know. So at that
Yes.
time, were alarm bells ringing for you, or did you think, okay, I need to endure this because this is life, this is marriage, this is normality?
No, it's a very good question, and I really like do want like explaining this, because I think there's this presumption that it's a religious thing, and it's not religious. It's a cultural way of a cultural belief and cultural way of people, cultural lifestyle. You know, and it's not a religious way of living a married life at all. And you know, I definitely want to mention that. Yes, so the way I was brought up, being a Muslim girl, following, you know, listening to my parents, I was the main breadwinner. I knew it was very important that, you know, not to get into any kind of relationship before I got married, you know, and you know, things like sex before marriage and things. I believed in all that. So for me to get married and what was going on, I thought that was normal, because I didn't know what a relationship is, really, to be honest with you, how it's supposed to be. The way I was told is that, and the way we've been brought up, is that a girl, it's, you know, like, she holds the honor and dignity of her parents' house, her husband's house. She holds everything together. She's the one that's got to be patient. I've got to be patient no matter what, that it will get better. I was told that, you know, there's always ups and downs in marriages, and you know, it shows that I'm strong if I, you know, be patient and just cope with whatever comes my way. And so for me, the things that were going on, I just assumed that this is just the beginning of the marriage, so maybe this is why it's hard. We don't know each other, because it was kind of like, you know, arranged. So for me, I didn't really know the family very well. I don't know the way the lifestyles is. So I just thought I need to adapt to the way.
People don't realize how much pressure we're put under. You know, I remember my mom saying to me, you know, being married is better than being divorced. You know, and I was like, yeah, but
yeah, definitely. It's like, yeah, definitely. It's like, you know, it's a proud thing if you can stick it through, you know, if you stay in the marriage. And it's a, you know, although it's a stigma, it's like you're labeled if you leave the marriage. And there was so many rumors going around when you hear couples separating. So it's like a proud thing for the girl, but also for the parents, you know, in the community and within. And so for me, one of the things was, yeah, I didn't want to seem like a failure to my friends, to, you know, like my work colleagues and things like that. But also there was this, you know, thing in the community. For my parents' sake, I stuck it out, because I'll be honest with you, a week before we got married, I was ready to cancel it, because of the things that were going on. So you know how you say, did you know? Did you think why alarm bells were ringing? I wouldn't say alarm bells were ringing, but I had like these weird feelings in my gut, you know, that this is weird or this is not right. And now I do say that go with your gut. And I had these things were going on, like coercive control behaviors were going on well before we got married. And things like when I was going out with my friends, he would say, oh yeah, you know, I'm all for it, you can go out with your friends. But as soon as I was out, he needed to know what time I was going, where I was going, who I was going with, what I was wearing. I would have to send him a picture. And once I was out, he would constantly be ringing me, texting me. And obviously you're out with your friends, your phone's in your bag, and you know, I'm not answering it. So then he would go mad. He'd end up ringing my mum. So my mum would be stressing out. And this is one part of coercive control that I'm mentioning. But these things made me then start to isolate from my friends, because I didn't want this, you know, like the pressure of him constantly contacting me and stressing me out.
I'm so glad that you're defining, you know, one aspect of the abuse, because often I think when people think of domestic violence, they think about you just being battered around, and they don't realize that.
Yeah, they think it's just physical.
It's this big wheel, you know.
It's financial, economical, emotional, psychological, sexual abuse, physical, of course. Then you've got honor-based violence, you've got tech abuse, you've got harassment. There's quite a lot of things that come under that under domestic abuse. That's why I always say domestic abuse, not domestic violence,
Yes.
because violence is seen as it's just physical. And you know, with the Soul Sisters group that I run, and I can mention that later, is the women think when they tell me about the emotional abuse, the financial abuse, and I'm saying this is domestic abuse, and they're saying no, because it's only physical abuse is domestic abuse. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing, because I've learned so much and I didn't know before, that I want to now keep sharing that information, because knowledge is power, isn't it?
Know that at the end of March 2019, right, the crime survey statistics alone, and they actually said, when you look at the statistics, we don't know if this is the true number. Of course it's not the true number, but there was 1.6 million women, right, between 16 and 74 that were being abused, right? That was at the end of March 2019. And me and you both know that COVID and lockdown, can you imagine? Oh gosh, like, you know, I really feel, and I think that's why, you know, these series are so important. And
definitely
we unlock that understanding, because what we're doing right now is we're showing people that these alarm bells, let's just unfold these alarm bells and be clear. Yeah, those alarm bells are there for a reason, you know. So yeah,
there's so much unreported going on. I mean, I myself, in the 6 years of my abuse, I only have reported it once, because of the fact that first of all I didn't know it was abuse. Secondly, I was scared to talk about it because I didn't know if someone was going to believe me. Thirdly, the shame in the community, my parents, and also I was scared of what he'll do to me or his family if I did report him. You know, there was many times in the abuse situations where I would pick my phone up and I would say that, you know, I'm going to call the police because I was locked in a room, I was screaming. So many things happened in so many different times. And he would take my phone off me, but then he would threaten to say, well, actually, why don't you call your parents first, and I'll call my parents. And I'll be like, all right, you call your parents then, and I'll call mine. And then he wouldn't do that either. So it was just like all these threats. But at the time, because I was isolated from, you know, my family and friends, I didn't know that this is wrong and this is abuse. I just thought this is a normal way of relationship, that he's being overprotective. But I always had there was a feeling that, is this really normal? Because I wasn't happy. I didn't feel loved. We had nothing in, you know, we weren't talking to each other. Things were just done the way he wanted. I had no control over anything, where I went, who I went to, everything.
What do you think did it? What do you think did it? Because I know for me, it was, I loved my abuser at the time, you know, and if I didn't have kids, I would have died in that marriage. You know, what did it for you?
For me, I really will be honest, it was my child. It was my child, and it was the fact that a friend had got in touch with me. Luckily, around that time, she was working for her local council, and they'd given her a lot of domestic abuse training. And I was once a person that was always on social media. And suddenly she's not on social media, and whenever I was, it was like a post saying, you know, about how married couples are supposed to be religiously happy, and she found it quite strange, you know. So I was quite lucky that she thought, I'm gonna make that connection with her and see if she's all right. You know, she didn't think it was abuse, she just wanted to check up on me. And when I had told her a few things, because she was asking me, and then she said to me, Asma, this is dangerous. And then I noticed that every time I was on the phone to her, because I felt a bit better talking to someone. And that's something that victims want. When they are talking to someone, they are asking for help.
Wow. So, you know, really, you've talked about, and I'm glad that you shared the pressure that is coming and the build up to it, you know, trying to come forward. Because I remember speaking to my friend, you know, and I was like, yeah, he stamped on my head like a dog. Can you believe it? And my friend was like listening to me like, oh my God.
She's because we minimize these, we kind of minimize these things as a victim, because we don't know how bad and how abusive it is. We minimize it, because when you say that, you know, to me, what comes to mind is he used to spit in my face in front of my son and things. So, you know, when you ask me about what made me, so when those things are happening, I just thought, hang on, this guy has no like remorse, but no care. He actually believes what he's, because he's doing it in front of my child. because he abused me, you know, so many different ways, even sexually in front of my son. And, you know, and I thought, this is so wrong. And then when my son was seeing me, because I would be on the, you know, prayer mat constantly crying to God, like asking for some sort of direction, like a bag of bones. And I sat there, you know, and he would come crawling to me, trying to make me stop crying and things. And I started thinking, hang on, this boy is not going to know his mum. You know, he's not going to know his real mum, who used to be standing up for women, who used to be independent. And, you know, he's going to then probably grow up learning this behavior. He's going to think it's okay to spit in mum's face, that if mum doesn't give me something, I'm just going to kick her on, you know. He's going to think it's normal. And I thought, no way am I bringing up a perpetrator, you know. And I know now, I would want to advise people is if you know someone's disclosing to you that they're, you know, going through domestic abuse, do not tell them to leave, and do not go and help them. What you need to do is you need to listen to them, be supportive, and try to get the right kind of help with the right organizations like Muslim Women's Network, like Women's Aid, you know, other, you know, that are trained to do a safety plan, that are trained to actually ask the right questions. There's a right route, you know, to get a lady out, or a man. Obviously victims can be men as well, and children are. So like my son, he witnessed it, so actually he's a victim as well. I think people forget that children, they think, oh well, he was little or she was little or whatever, they were in the other room, or they were upstairs, or they were outside. But children are also victims. They also suffer from trauma, you know, PTSD, because they take that in, and they either think that, you know, that's normal behavior. So, you know, I would say do not advise someone that, you know, leave, or I'm going to come and help you, because that's the wrong information. That's really dangerous. That's when homicide happens. In Rochdale, we've had, since the lockdown, we've had one homicide case that I know about so far. Well, you're dealing with a narcissistic perpetrator, aren't you? Someone who really doesn't want the public to know that they're doing this, and plus they have this persona.
So you've now launched Soul Sisters, fantastic, which supports women and families. As you said, families are just important, you know, the children. How does this look now in the end, in terms of, you know, you've advised how people receiving the information should behave? If there is a woman watching this and she's like, you know what to do, you know, what can you do? I'm just going to share as well Muslim Women Network helpline, which I think is an amazing opening to actually get support, and you can also visit their website. So what would you advise? Because like you said, and I think that was a great idea, slowly putting documents together, slowly getting the clothes together. What would your advice be?
So my advice, so I want to say about Muslim Women's Network as well, is that they have counsellors, don't they? So, you know, obviously they help all women from all backgrounds, and men can contact and they will signpost, but there's Muslim counsellors as well. So that helps, you know, Muslim women as well in that sense, because I'll tell you something, when I was asking for counselling in my local area, so there's nothing against this, but I was put with a Caucasian English man, right? So I went to counselling, I went into this room, and the last thing that they should have done was put me with a man anyway. I've just been through sexual domestic abuse. I am scared of men anyway. And then they put me with someone that has no idea about my culture or religion, and he even said it to me. So I'm not, so obviously that's not the guy's fault, it's the service. So Muslim Women's Network, I think it would have helped me, and it did help me to have that option available, because you don't have to explain your culture, your religion. It's kind of unsaid and understood, which is what Soul Sisters is also about. With it's a peer-to-peer support, you know, so it's about survivors and victims meeting together, and you don't have to explain everything you talk about. So when you're talking about the isolation, the mental abuse, you don't have to explain it. You can just say it, and I could be like, yeah, you know, we get it. And Muslim Women's Network, in that sense, I think it's really good that it's available, isn't it?
So you've gone on to do public speaking, and hopefully all of your speeches that you've done are available on your Instagram, and we will share that information also in the Zoom. And what does the future hold for Soul Sisters? What are you hoping to achieve in the next, say, year?
So yeah, absolutely. I want to for the year goal is I want to get Soul Sisters across the, you know, across the country, England and Wales, in over, obviously at the minute it's possible over virtually, have more volunteers joining, you know, people with experience like counsellors, because at the minute I am not trained in obviously counselling, so it's a low level crisis service, and it gives practical and emotional support and peer support, group support, and, you know, drop-in sessions. So it would be good to have volunteers. We've got I'm happy to announce we have a patron now who will help to, you know, grow Soul Sisters, you know, nationally. And that's what I want to do, because one of the things I didn't like when I was a bit, you know, going through my struggles was the waiting list that you're on for with the counselling, with referrals, and then GP just says, here you are, refer yourself. And the last thing you're going to want to do is refer yourself. I mean, I just didn't have it in my, you know, mentally to fill forms in. So Soul Sisters is there that you can attend. There isn't a waiting list. Of course, you know, when you come in, you'd need to fill your details in just for safety reasons, and that's confidentially held. But you know, you can attend a Zoom or when we're back in the community, the group, whenever you want. There will be certain sessions where it will run for like 6 weeks or 12 weeks that, you know, you can attend, but there's no judgment. It's a safe space, and it gives you space to share your story safely, and there's confidentiality. And things like in my groups, I've always talked about, if you're going to have your phone, do not, no one's allowed to take pictures or videos. I'm very, because I know myself, being through what I've been through, trust is a big issue. So trust, so it's, you know, the group, I let them build trust with each other. We have a WhatsApp group again, you know, we're monitoring it, the management team. So for the year, it's to grow it across the country, to be running, like, you know, sessions like meditation, self-care, self-managing yourself, coping strategies, healthy relationships, talking about being assertive, about being confident. Maybe, you know, I'm doing a life coach online course, so I want, you know, and I want to be able to coach these women. So like I have a woman that I'm supporting one-to-one as well. So we have our group, but we do mentorship and one-to-one. And this woman, when I met her 8 months ago, she was absolutely distraught, and I know she wouldn't mind me sharing this. And she has, you know, and now she's at a point where we said to her, okay, I said to her, what's your goal in the future? What do you enjoy that makes you happy? So she said cooking. So, you know, I mean, I can't cook, honestly, but I thought that's brilliant. So I said to her, well, what do you want to do? And she said she wants to open a restaurant. So she started doing self-catering at the moment, and it really makes her feel better. To meet that woman months ago to what she's doing now, and that's what Soul Sisters is about. So, you know, it's about moving forward. You can move, you can have a life. And those women that are going through it and that are in that situation, what I would say is, you know, reach out to someone, even if it's one person, like a trusted person, so like a friend or a relative, a family, a colleague, a trusted person. So, and try to collect. So when things are going on, you don't know what's going to happen in your future. I didn't. And I used to keep a diary of events, and I didn't even know why I was doing it. I was just doing it because it helped me mentally, because I was losing the plot. Now, when I had to go to court, I had things that I could put in place. I had evidence. So evidence is very important. So if you're sharing it with a friend or a family member, that is your evidence. And also, if there's something that happens, send a text message, delete it, send a voice recording and delete it, but it's gone to someone else. And that's like basically have a soul sister or a soul brother, because even men go through it, you know, that you can connect with, that you trust. So there's that, your evidence is collected. So when you go to court, you've got your evidence, and recordings can be transcribed in court by a professional and used. If you talk to your GP as well, don't think that because you disclose abuse to your GP, and that's one of the things, you know, towards the end I was scared to do, but in the beginning I did do. And unfortunately, in my case, it was unfortunate with what the doctor did, but my doctor was Bengali, so maybe because of that reason, he didn't put all the information on. But you need to make sure when you go to see a doctor, your doctor won't disclose until you give consent. The doctor will only disclose to professionals if they think if there's a safeguarding issue. But otherwise, what they will do is signpost you to services near you. So I was in Birmingham at the time. So one of the services I was signposted to was Muslim Women's Network. You know, so they will signpost you, so you go and get your help. So when you get that help, what happens is you build your confidence, and when you're building your confidence up, it's gonna give you that reason to actually think, this is abuse, I need to leave. So don't be afraid that if you share it with a professional, they're going to just go and tell a police officer, and you don't have to report it. So if you use Muslim Women's Network, that doesn't mean that it needs to be reported to the police. It just means that you will get support like counseling, like coaching, like, you know, in touch with other services that can help you. It doesn't mean you have to go and report it to the police, because I know a lot of victims are scared of the police, and that's why a lot of the time they don't want to disclose anything to professionals, but that's not the case. Obviously, if there's safeguarding issues, they will do. I don't know what, I really like to say those things because I didn't know that information in my time.
I'm going to end on a positive note. So at the time, I reported the abuser to the police, and he got released on bail. And then he got caught driving on his phone while on bail, you know, and he got 3 months imprisonment. And the detective that was working on the case said that, you know, I barely see, you know, justice to that level being prevailed. And I said, yeah, well, you know, Allah is real, you know, and Allah sees everything, you know, because I think, you know, we have to tie that in. You know, you said you were a bag of bones on a map, you know, and I get emotional when I talk about this, you know, because people often look how, you know, my smile and this and that, but you know, what really got me through is the dependence on Allah. SubhanAllah, as small as that light became and as dark as that hole becomes, you know. So yeah, well, what's your spiritual thread that you want to leave us ending on? Because we are Muslim women at the end of the day on the journey.
Yeah, is that, you know, don't think that because you're a wife and you're going through abuse that it's your duty to stay, because Islamically, in fact, actually in the Quran Sharif as well, it's mentioned if you see someone being oppressed, or if you are being oppressed, you should take steps to help yourself, because abuse is not accepted in our religion at all. It's not. Our Prophet used to love his wife so, you know, so much, and if you think about, women hold the highest rank in Islam actually, and it's a religion where women are actually held equal to men. And I learned, you know, because when I left I was told, like, you know, you're doing the wrong thing, you're a Muslim wife, but I know, and when I was doing Soul Sisters I was being told you shouldn't be doing this because, you know, you're separating couples, and that's not the case. If some couple can sort it out, that's fine, you know, but there has to be a perpetrator that wants to help themselves. But Islamically, I know in my heart, as long as I know in my heart, I'm clear, because we only have to answer to one Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in our hereafter. And you know, I'm always, when I'm doing something, I'm thinking about that. So find out for yourself. Don't just listen and think this is religion, because actually when I started educating myself, I found out, inshallah, you know, that alhamdulillah, that, you know, what we're doing right now, what you're doing as well, Shalina, and Muslim Women's Network is the right thing. We're raising awareness, we're listening, we're talking, trying to signpost, help, and that is what we're doing. And then we're empowering you to make that decision. And Islamically, you know, if you see someone being oppressed, either help with your hand, your mouth, your eyes, but something, you shouldn't sit back, because otherwise you're seen on the same level as the perpetrator. You're sinning too, because you're allowing that abuse to continue. So honestly, Islamically, women do have the highest rank, and, you know, parents that actually support that daughter as well, because that's another thing I learned. It's actually a sunnah. When, you know, Nick, if a daughter comes back from a marriage, a broken marriage because of abuse, or, you know, adultery or whatever it is, and that those parents actually support that daughter, it's so it's just so positive. It's really good for the, yeah, I didn't know this. So, you know, these parents, and one of the reasons I didn't leave for a long time was I was worried about the stigma. My parents will disown me. Those parents need to know.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you're right. And I didn't know that. I think to end as well, though, is that once you acknowledge that you're being oppressed, if you don't release yourself from that oppression, you become the oppressor. And that was a very powerful piece of information for me to help me walk away, you know. Jazakallah khairan, sis. This has been amazing. I know this has been like, we've just, you know, I found it really difficult.
No, Jazakallah. Opportunity. Thank you so much. You know, thank you. And you should always, I love your smile as well, so yeah. We need to smile, you know. We put on a mask so many times, you know, because we don't want people to know, but smile, it really helps our well-being, our face, our features, isn't it?
Absolutely. Oh, Okay, so watch this space, and I wish you all the best. All of our sisters, all of our brothers and sisters, because I know brothers will be watching this. I hope they also benefit from this. Let's make dua, because there are issues in our ummah, unfortunately, that needs to be, you know, addressed. So this is Behind Closed Doors. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Assalamu alaikum.
If you've been affected by any of the issues that we've discussed, there is help out there. There are resources and some websites that we've got linked down in the description box below. Thank you.